Hello and welcome to Newsfeed, your daily dose of what people are talking about online, from news stories to what's trending. Well, it's been a wild week for the Bird app. I'm of course referring to Twitter. Account suspensions have flown alongside accusations of censorship against free speecher-in-chief Elon Musk. On Thursday and Friday, Musk doled out bans for journalists from the Washington Post, the New York Times, and elsewhere for reporting on his new rule prohibiting live flight tracking. And that rule applies to sharing the live flight data of anyone, including Russian oligarchs and anybody else with a private jet. Even sharing a link to a site tracking commercial flights is now off limits. The same goes for even posting links to Mastodon, which still hosts an account that had been following Musk's private plane. The billionaire says stalkers could use it to try to kill him and claims a stalking incident this week endangered his 2-year-old child. One of the reporters he banned, CNN's Donnie O'Sullivan, tweets that there was no police record yet of the encounter. Still, others said they had no idea why their accounts were pulled from the site. They might have been critical of Musk, but they hadn't reported on the stalking story. A suspension even came for Steve Herman, the national correspondent for Voice of America, a U.S. government-funded outlet. He said he was just tweeting about the suspensions. Musk contended that journalists will not get any special treatment for evading his new rules. And the irony there is that Musk had said he would govern Twitter with freedom of speech as its guiding principle. He's also clarified that bans for sharing someone's location will result in a week-long suspension, although the mercurial mega-billionaire has broken his word in the past. It was just a week ago that he was boasting about helping reveal all the ways that Twitter's old bosses had censored speech. Wilson has more.
A storm of controversy has come ashore in American politics with Elon Musk's release of the so-called Twitter files. Those are internal communications between members of its previous management about decisions like the banning of former President Donald Trump after the Capitol riot, and how the site limited the reach of accounts that had violated rules Musk has now discarded. Many of those accounts belong to right-wing influencers. Musk's fans claim the files are proof that previous management was guilty of political bias against former President Trump. Also at issue was the decision to briefly disable the ability of users to share or message links to a New York Post story about Joe Biden's son, Hunter, and his business dealings in Ukraine. The paper published the story just weeks before the 2020 election. Twitter feared it was a Russian attempt at election meddling to boost Trump and embarrass Biden. Internal communications show that Twitter made the call because the story was based on hacked information, a violation of its rules. And where is Musk in all this? He promoted the Twitter files to show that there was a new sheriff in town, him, and that liberal viewpoints would not reign supreme. Free speech, especially for the right, would be enforced. On Thursday, Musk tried to legitimate his moderation decisions with Twitter polls, but when he didn't get the results he wanted, he reposted them. Then he appeared to tweet his own decisions before results were in. Meanwhile, Twitter remains an unprofitable company, and billions of dollars of debt hang over the mega-billionaire who has seen his own net worth crumble as Tesla stocks slide. There is a larger lesson here about the concentration of power in any community, whether online or not. An anonymous bureaucracy determining the limits of speech will not satisfy everyone. It's bound to breed resentment against those rules from some people. But a system that revolves around the whims of a single individual also results in bitterness against that person. Uncertainty about their decisions creates confusion. On Twitter, this concentration of power sucks up attention that users could spend discussing more pressing matters of public interest, instead of their opinion of its owner. As for the wisdom of wading into American partisan politics, Musk might do well to remember the words of Abraham Lincoln to a political rival. You can fool part of the people all of the time, but you can't fool all the people all the time.
To be perfectly honest, there aren't many things coming out of the European Parliament that gets us excited on Newsfeed. But the ruling that all electronic devices have to have the same charger is like the most common sense thing we've heard in a long time. Well, now a date has been set when finally that tangle of leads will become a thing of the past. Here's Sarah with the deets.
So it's official. As of the 28th of December 2024, it will be illegal to sell a device in the EU that uses this bad boy. Now, this is Apple's Lightning cable. If you've got an iPhone, you'll be using one of these to charge your phone. The thing is, most other tech manufacturers use this. This is the USB-C port. Now, they are quite similar, but if you take a closer look, they are a different size and shape. And the EU has decided it is absolutely ridiculous that there are two different types of chargers, particularly if you own several different devices from several different brands. You can't obviously use just the one cable, and the EU says, well, this is contributing to e-waste. So its new rule is, going forward, all phones, cameras, e-readers, earphones, tablets, anything sold within the EU must have a USB-C charging point. Now, this only applies to the EU, and the UK has already made it clear it won't be adopting the same laws for now, but thanks to Brexit, this gets a little bit spicy, because Northern Ireland, which is obviously part of the UK, is also still partly in the EU single market, so it might have to comply with the new law. Now, some people are going to kick off about this because they hate it when there are different rules for people in Northern Ireland compared to people living in the rest of the UK.
There's quite a spat going on between Google and the Chinese authorities, and it's all over a song, the Hong Kong national anthem to be exact. It includes the words "Tears on our land" and "democracy and liberty." It was banned in 2020 after China introduced a national security law. Here's Adam with the story.
If you run a Google search for the Hong Kong national anthem at the moment, you'll be directed to some links about a song called "Glory to Hong Kong." And that's upsetting leaders in the city who want it to be the Chinese national anthem that pops up on Google instead. And they're so annoyed about this that they are asking Google to change it. This is the Twitter feed of the Hong Kong government. It says the government will write to Google once again to pursue the matter of putting the correct information related to the national anthem at the top of Google's search engine results page, Chief Executive John Lee says. Now, another Hong Kong official who says he's spoken to Google about this says that the tech company is blaming algorithms and saying that the algorithms decide what search results come up. Now, why is this controversial? Well, "Glory to Hong Kong" was used by pro-democracy protesters in 2019, and it was really their anthem that rung out, and it's now effectively banned due to the national security law. And there's been some controversial incidents recently at sporting events where Hong Kong teams and individuals have competed, but the wrong anthem has been played. Take a look at this one. Well, a big tech story like this is going to get lots of reaction online. This is Ian Bremner, the president of the Eurasia Group. He said Google refusing to succumb to Chinese demands to change search results of Hong Kong's national anthem to Chinese one helps that they don't do significant business in China. Ready or not, tech companies becoming some of the most influential geopolitical actors of the 21st century. So, authorities versus big tech, it's not the first time we've heard about it, and it likely won't be the last.
All right, there have been so many talking points about the World Cup in Qatar, but one thing you hear over and over is Doha is so safe. According to the Numbeo Crime Index by country, Qatar has again been rated the safest country in the world. Franzi wanted to test how crime-free can Doha be.
Hey guys, today I want to find out how safe is Qatar. For that we will do a social experiment. I have some cash and my magic cube and I'm going to leave it here for 1 hour, and after 1 hour I'll come back and see if it's still here or maybe it's gone. In the meantime, we will keep an eye on the cash and the magic cube, but we will also ask other people how they feel here in Qatar, safe or not.
Very safe in Doha, in Qatar, also some Middle East countries.
Well, I come from Colombia, so definitely this is way safer than my country. It's very safe for all of us.
Sometimes I walk 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, very relaxed. Being in the bus in the evening, in metro, here, like even for my daughter, I can like safely let her go here or Dubai. This area is very safe, much more than in France or even in Lebanon.
In general, you can leave your stuff everywhere. As a woman, you can walk around without feeling harassed from men.
Guys, I'm feeling extremely nervous. I just want to go back as quick as possible to see if the money and my magic cube is still there. Okay, I can see it. It seems like it's still there. Let's have a look. All right, so here I'm back at the place where I left the money and the magic cube. Let me just count the money. And yeah, everything is still here. So with that being said, I wish everybody a safe and enjoyable trip in Qatar.
So at this point, we all know that Gen Z and TikTok are very much obsessed with Y2K fashion, and they're adamant on bringing every single piece from the early 2000s back. Yep, are you ready for dresses over jeans again? If not, well, here's another trend that may tickle your fancy. It's called the hashtag frazzled English woman. Think female leads from rom-coms of that era like Kate Winslet in The Holiday or Renee Zellweger in Bridget Jones. You can't be bothered to plan an outfit, so you leave home with undone hair, layers of clothes that honestly don't go so well together, paired with a ridiculous scarf. That's the vibe.
It's basically the autumn-winter continuation of Y2K. It's anything that was worn in these English Christmas films, particularly if they were directed by Richard Curtis or starred Hugh Grant or Jude Law. They often involve a scene where a woman is grabbing things as she rushes out the door. So it's kind of crucial that the items don't exactly match or they look a bit rushed in how they're put together. Something I have really noticed with this trend though is, as with all things in the 2000s, only white skinny women were able to partake in this trend, because only white skinny women were able to be passable if they looked messy. Curvier women or women of colour always had to look put together. So I'm really hopeful that we'll see this trend emerge to be way more inclusive and accessible by everyone as we look at it with today's lens. And the only reason I'm talking about this trend is I genuinely think it's easy to pull together with things you already own. As soon as you're buying things new in order to partake, you've missed the point.
And that's today's show. Find Newsread on YouTube and do subscribe to our channel. Have a great weekend.